Well, hello and welcome to Better Than Your Creator on AI and Creativity. Today, I'm really excited to host here Dov Moran, Managing Director of Grove Ventures, and the man who invented the USB flash drive.
Oh, thank you very much. My pleasure.
Hi. Thank you for coming here today. So, Dov, you invented the USB flash drive, and you've told that story in countless interviews. I think that most of the people are familiar with it. For anyone who somehow is not familiar with the story of how you came up with it, can you just briefly talk about it? And actually, what I'm interested in, and this is probably something you usually don't talk about, what happened in the moment before you came up with the idea? What were you feeling? Frustration, or was it just passion to change something? Maybe take us to that moment.
Well, it's such a stupid story, and I told it so many times that I really feel like almost uncomfortable to tell the story once again. But for you, went to a conference in New York. On my way, tried to go over the presentation. The computer didn't turn off. You connect your computer, and then it's dead. We were already a public company. We went public actually in 1993. With revenues of $2.7 million. It's a joke, but you could raise money in IPOs these days. So is that I was there. He walks, and I look at the audience. Feeling goes like that. This is the sweat on your back because I flew for that. Now, shall I fly back and tell my guys, I couldn't present because something happened? That was very, very bad. You may ask, why just didn't you give a presentation, just without, the slides? Because you can't, because it's a public company. There are tons of numbers. And if you make any mistakes, somebody might sue you for misleading him. He bought the shares, he sold the shares. And it's your fault because you didn't give the right numbers. You can't just come and invent or say, guys, I don't remember my numbers on my projections. And there are lots of numbers there when you present a company like that. Somebody in the audience said, hey, take my computer. I said, but how do I transfer my files? And that's the idea. That's the whole issue. Actually, people looking for something which is an event. Yeah, it's a one-time event. But still, there is a background to that. I was an electrical engineer. I had a company. Company dealt with flash data storage. We knew what's the meaning of taking flash, making it something similar to a hard drive. We knew that USB is coming to the market because we followed the market, and I read everything I could read about what's going on in my business. Yeah, and therefore, end of the day, it's connecting dots. It's not, lucky for me, is that when the IEEE committee, the ones who define standards, defined the USB, they thought about replacing a connector that was very famous these days called RS-232. No one knows what's that. I even don't remember what stands for the RS. And this was a large, bulky connector, and they said, we have to make it smaller. And they said, what should we connect? A mouse, a keyboard, a printer, stuff like that. And no one thought about memory. If they would just add the word memory into the standard, I couldn't issue a patent. But I issued a patent. And the patent was strong enough to help the company to grow and do very well.
It's amazing because, I guess that everyone else just maybe thought about this problem. I guess there were hundreds of, company owners or CEOs out there trying to have their PPT.
And smarter than me, of course. Don't forget.
And you said so. I'm not sure, but what made you specifically this unrest of just not looking at the problem and saying, okay, it's not like cancer, you know what I mean, that everyone's trying to solve?
Well, first of all, I think that entrepreneurs are these kind of people that they see problems where everything else is saying, hey, that's normal. No, it's not normal. We have to change it. Yeah, by the way, many times I say it in my life or in my work, you have to change it. I don't succeed because maybe There are good solutions, maybe there aren't. And the second thing, it really requires a background that we had and others didn't have. We knew very well what is flash, how to control flash, how to make flash appear like a hard drive. So I came to it actually quite ready. And we were the first ones. Once there is a first one, then there are many, many followers because they see the solution. Hey, okay, we'll make it. We'll do the same. We'll just improve here, improve there. But I think that this combination of the ability to see a problem that requires a solution and not just accept, hey, that's life. Plus the know-how, the deep know-how about the technology required. This is what really made it the concept.
Which takes me to the next point. I mean, I'm guessing that you had a lot of moments like that. As you mentioned, entrepreneurs, they always think and see problems. And you do have the background and the engineering background and even the managing, a successful company that was sold. So can you remember one specific or just a few stories about other ideas that you did?
Of course, I do have tons of stories of where I failed. Actually, even at M Systems, on the way to success, we had so many failures and we made so many mistakes and we made so many wrong decisions, and we almost went bankruptcy twice. We were doing flash data storage. We sold flash data storage. Can you imagine that there was a year where we didn't succeed to get flash? So what do we sell exactly? There was, we actually in a battle against what used to be called Intel, Microsoft, which came with their standard, which was very incorrect and very bad, not for the USB flash drive, but in generally how to deal with flash. They actually came with something called flash file system. And it's treated the flash as something that you can write only in big chunks, like books, only serially. So you cannot actually write as you are writing to a hard drive. You can just write files, write them and erase them. And we said, no, it's not a good solution because software is built to deal with records, with small chunks of data, and it doesn't work well. And I do remember a lot of conversations with the head of Flash at Intel and the other guys. Actually, I have a funny story about that. But so we went into a battle with no chance to succeed because you can't convince these guys. They felt so strong, so knowledgeable, so smart, such a big ego that you really went to a fight that didn't make any sense. Yeah, small story about that. Several years ago, I went with one of my companies, Korea, to meet Hynix, which we used to have very good relations with. My days at M Systems. We go there. I go with the company because, in generally, when we invest in companies, we are really active in helping them, supporting them. Many of them, I'm the chairman. Others, we are sitting at the board. So I go to Hynix and they say, okay, there is a meeting with the guys related to this new technology you want to expose to us. So we are going there. We were two people, actually, a CEO and myself. And they bring to the meeting 12 people. I said, too fast, 12 people there. And then they say, we can't begin the meeting because the CEO wants to meet you. Waiting 5 minutes, 10 meetings, and talk about, all the gossips and what's happening in the industry. And I tell them the history that I had with Hynix. Amazing company, really amazing. Humble, smart, hard workers. I really loved dealing with them. And at some time, the CEO comes in and he gets into the door with him another 5 guys, and he gets into the room and he looks at me. And of course, I go to him, we shake hands. He says, I remember you, but do you remember me? Now, what shall I tell him that? No, I have no clue. Actually, it's very difficult for me. All the Koreans look the same, no? No, I'm joking. But it's very difficult.
We look the same to them, so
I know, that's right. And last time I dealt with them was maybe 10 years ago, 10 years before that. And people change. And, we had we have very, very massive discussions about actually building a joint fab, which if M Systems would not be acquired, this was our next stage. Could be doing very, very nice, actually. So what should I tell him? So I said, of course I remember you. From the time we negotiated the new fab and the joint venture. And he was looking at me like that, smiling.
He knew.
He said, no, you don't remember me. I said, okay. He said, I met you, not here at Hynix, at Intel, because when I finished my studies, I went to work at Intel, at the flash division at Intel. And I still remember you coming to us at Intel, trying to convince us to take the flash memory and make out of the flash solid-state drives. And we were something like 10 people listening to you pitch and your ideas and concepts and future and vision and all the rest. And then you left the room and we were almost laughing because we said, hey, this guy is lunatic. No way ever that flash will be used to make solid-state drives. By the way, he was right, not their flash. Funny it happened with flash from Toshiba, Samsung, and others. It's not the same flash. We actually killed at some time the business of Intel. Business at the size of about $2 billion, but coming with invention that allowed the other flash, other kind of flash, to actually replace the Intel flash, which was a very big change in the industry. What was the question?
No, yeah. So I originally asked like to tell the stories about ideas that you had or new inventions that you had that you didn't pursue.
So first of all, many failures, even at M-System. But the biggest failure that, in Israel at least, everybody remembers that. By the way, it's very strange because when I go abroad, and I fly quite a lot, I visit a lot Silicon Valley, I have many, many friends. When I visit the Valley, I meet the CEO of Micron, the CEOs of Intel, number 2 at AMD, the CEO of ARM, which is amazing, René Haas, amazing guy. And many, many others, of course. And they see it at the Modu, my concept of modular phones, as amazing concept. I said, but I failed. I say, yeah, but it was such a great idea. People tell me, we admired you not because of the USB flash drive, because of Modu.
Can you tell a little bit about Modu, just for the
Modu was
listeners?
a company I established after M-Systems to do modular phones. It was actually active very short time. I think that less than 3 years altogether. And out of it came, at some time, the marker made a review of how many companies were born by mother companies. Out of Modu, there were maybe close to 30 companies, 30 people that got out and said, I have an idea. And I'm very, very proud of that because maybe we failed, but we opened the door to many guys to have the courage to establish companies. By the way, do you know why did they give them the courage? They look at me and say, hey, if these guys can do it, we can do it as well.
No way. If this guy who sold the company in $1.5 billion.
I'm joking. But Modu failed.
Can I ask just
Sure.
before you continue about Modu, because you did invent something that I think it was till today the smallest phone in the world.
That's right, yeah.
And they loved the idea. So just connecting the dots. I mean, why do you think you failed? And was it worth actually failing or just reinventing yourself with a new Modu? Because it actually, you said yourself, like they remembered it.
I don't reinvent myself, but I'm trying to improve all the time. Even today, I am working very hard to improve myself. I'm becoming better in whatever I'm doing. That's at least what I feel. In Modu, there is an excuse and there is a reason. The excuse why we failed is very simple. Apple came to the market. Actually, first iPhone was the middle of 2007. It actually killed the oldest market of phones. It killed Nokia. Remember a company called Nokia?
Of course.
And Sony Ericsson, and Infineon, and Motorola. BlackBerry. And if this was the big elephant stepping on the heads of the cats and dogs and whoever was the lions even sometime, we really were a small ant. And, they stepped on us and didn't feel anything, just kill us. Sounds great, but this is not the reason. That's the excuse. You know why? Because when a company fails, it's the CEO of the company, it's his fault. It's the only fault is the CEO, the CEO's fault. And I failed. And the question comes now of why did I fail? You can say, hey, you said you're not the smartest. You deserve failing. Well, of course, maybe it's related somehow. There are people who can handle few companies at the same time. Actually, when entrepreneurs coming to me and say, we are doing this and we do this, and by the way, do have a small, half a day a week, we do family office of the, say, guys, fuck you. I say, do one thing. I don't want to hear about you doing this and this. You are very talented, but you are not Elon Musk. Do one thing, do it. It's so difficult. Creating a success, it's not just the idea, it's the idea and the people and the market and the marketing and the production and the taking care of the customers and selling and every quality assurance. Everything is so hard. You can't split yourself and hope and believe that somehow things will work. Because you can find good people, but finally it's you. You are the company. You establish it. Yeah, you have partners. That's great, but everyone has his job, and your job is to lead them, and it's full time. Anyway, the story is that after I was acquired, my company, actually it was a merger, but because we did a stock exchange, but it's practically, this is an acquisition. Eli Rai, which was the CEO of SanDisk, which is an amazing guy, which I love very much. I saw him actually again 2 weeks ago in California. Said, I do have one favor. I want you to become the chairman of Tower. I said, why? I said, because SanDisk and other 3 companies that Eli convinced actually, they are the 4 investors of Tower. And Tower these days were in very, very big trouble, almost bankruptcy, no money to pay salaries. Took me time to understand that they had negative gross margin, which means if you double the sales, you lose more. And a loan from the money they took from the banks at the size of $400 million, there is no way they could return this loan. And many other issues. Russell came 3 years before I joined, and actually through his time, these 3 years, the company just degraded to really almost bankruptcy. So Alex said, listen, if no one wanted to be the chairman, no one, everybody said, thank you very much. I'm not putting my head into this, how do you call it, sick bed.
You're not risking your reputation.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a matter of money. By the way, I took the job finally with no money. So I said, no, I have Modu. That's what I want to do. I said, do me a favor, go meet Russell. I went to see Russell. And it's in Migdal HaEmek. And when Russell opens his window, you really get an amazing view of the city there. So Russell said, hey, someone needs to come. I said, yeah, someone needs to come, but not me. He said, listen, no one wants to come. Then he opened his terrace. We said, do you see Migdal HaEmek? I'm so close to terminate the company. If no one would come, and soon we have to announce, bankruptcy. And if it happens,
everyone goes home.
All this Migdal HaEmek is going to be unemployed. By the way, I never got any good word from anybody living in Migdal HaEmek. That doesn't matter. Not looking at my age to thanks and things like that. I said, I'll take it. At no salary, no options, because I came pure. I said, I'm not coming for any benefits for myself. And I do it many times. I just don't want to make any even $1. Because then it's, hey, maybe you think about yourself. And this way I clean myself of any benefit for me. So I said I'll take it, and then it was a disaster. And then I had to split my time between Tower and between Modu. And there are small things that really very important when you are splitting your time. Your attention is you're not 100% focused. Apple changed the market. A good CEO that would be fully dedicated to the company would see it ahead of time, and he would change. He would maybe ignore his previous idea, move to idea which is a complementary product to iPhone, or just adapt the iPhone concept and do it differently. Today, looking backward, we had lots of things to do. I still remember somebody comes to me and said, your phones are very, very small. Maybe you should ignore it, and instead of selling it just like phones, sell it as a complementary product to iPhone that actually can just put in your hand. It corresponds with iPhone or independent, and make it a sport device. By the way, today everybody has a watch. These days there were no watches, and lots of things that can be done that I didn't even explore. So I failed. That's a good example. Did happy for the fair? Of course I'm not.
I think you said something really interesting, especially now. And if there are any entrepreneurs listening right now, I think it matters. And I want to stop for a second because you said don't split your attention. But if you think about it, today, when we live in the AI era, we kind of start hearing like quite the opposite because AI can do everything. So we need to split the attention. You don't even know what's going to work and what's not going to work. And, the products are practically making themselves. So you need to, like, what do you say about that?
I think that the AI allows you to do a lot of things. Still, you open a company, let's talk about company that replaces lawyers, which part of them are going to be replaced. Clearly, that's your job. Do that. Do that 100% of your time. Clearly, and do it very fast, by the way. If you fail fast. Do it very fast, highly focused, find the customers, make a system that you can demonstrate at initial orders, talk with the customer. It doesn't matter the price. You want somebody to pay to get to see that he's really using it. Because people, if you say to them it's free, then everybody say, yeah, of course, I'll take two. But you need to be in a position that you get the feedback from the customers. You need to change very, very fast. One of the companies I invested as a side, it's in the fund, but it's not. I was so much impressed of the CEO that we put this investment, very small investment, just to get to feel how things are moving today. This guy, very small team, I won't say the name, I know the company under his request. The company is 3 people. He is doing changes at his software and disseminate these changes every 2 days. Every 2 days he has a new version. Every 2-3 days he's sending things, actually a variety of things, and he tests things, and next version he adapts something which he learned. The AI learned that that's the right thing and add some other features or things that might be helpful and see the response of them. How does he do it with 3 people? The AI is developing the software for him. He has millions of users already. Crazy.
So what
Totally
changes?
Crazy. It's an enabler. It doesn't, it's enabler. As enablers, it allows do things which used to be with many, many people before, with much less people.
But the question is, because if I'm combining the two topics, this thing that is so important, what you said about there is no failures really. There are only excuses, but the actual failure was like, I'm just repeating, of course, correct me. I'm kind of translating what you said to entrepreneurs like myself. I am a founder. So, I mean, don't look at it as a failure, just look at it as you were not persistent enough with that same company or with that same dream. You can pivot, like infinitely pivot, but just keep doing that.
First of all, there are failures. Okay. Second, failure when it happens, that the entrepreneurs, or actually the CEO job. 3, AI allows you to fail fast, to develop fast, to pivot fast, and you have to do that. But doesn't mean that you have to work on 4 different projects at the same time.
Exactly.
That's the difference between what I said and you thought. And that's crucial. Why did you fail? In your startup, why did you fail?
I kind of felt the same as you are saying. I can say hundreds of excuses why I failed, but actually I take it on me. I seriously take it. It was one of my questions, like, how do you move on after you feel like it's so personal that you failed? And what can you learn from it? Because I'm still trying to see, I mean, there are so many excuses, as you mentioned. Yeah. So I don't even know what to learn from first.
Well, first of all, when I failed at Modu, and I call it failure, despite the fact that finally we sold the patents and technology to Google, which became project, and I know all the people involved quite amazingly. Even my last trip, I met people that were involved in this project. They made a project called Project R. The guy who was heading this project is Andrew Rubin, the guy who wrote Android. At some time, and they worked on it several years, and they didn't succeed to get a phone to the market. And then finally, Andrew Rubin left Google, or was, I don't know exactly the story, he was made to leave, actually, Google. And what he asked is to get this project. So actually they let him go with the project and with some people that worked on that. And he established a company. He raised for that tons of money. It's over $100 million for sure. And I think that the number I saw was $400 million. He came with a product to the market. He actually sold products, sold phones, and the company failed. Yeah. It's like a chaos. This modularity, it is practically very, very difficult to be done. But the issue is that the fault is the fault of the entrepreneur. And when I failed after Modu, I didn't sleep nights. I wrote an apology letter to each one of the investors. By the way, the nicest reply I got was from Masayoshi-san from SoftBank, which part of the failure relates to him because he was supposed to invest much more, and he was 2008. He was in a very, very tough time. If you remember, this was the crisis with the banks, and he was almost at bankruptcy. And I came to take it the second. I went to Japan to take the second check I was supposed to get from him, and he said, "Dov-san, I can't give you the money. Actually, maybe you have some money to give me." This is an amazing, amazing person, which I admire. Don't admire. I appreciate very, very much. Clearly, if I would admire people, he would be at the list of the top 10. Shassan wrote me an answer, and he said, "I know how hard you worked on this project. I know how much you wanted this to succeed. You failed. That's part of the business. Yeah, and I hope that at least you learned, your team learned, and we will meet the next time." And
amazing answer.
yeah, amazing answer.
So just moving forward, so then you decided to switch sides, and I want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
You founded Grow Ventures, which mainly invests in deep tech. You will tell us a bit about in a moment. But when you became an investor, did you make any promises to yourself as an investor, because you were in the other side? I'm never going to do that, or I'm going to be different.
So first of all, I did all of what I've done with help of many people around me. So M Systems, I established M System, but in a very short time, I added Ari Mergi as a partner. Grove, I actually had 3 partners joining me at the beginning. 2 of them left for whatever reason. Lotan, which was a
Lotan Levkovitz.
Yeah, he was a child when I got to meet him the first time. He was, I think, 26, 27. And then we added 2 more partners. So it's all a teamwork. It's not, hey, it's me with my ideas, with my... So you have to find the right people. That's the first thing that is important when I meet entrepreneurs. I find the right partners. This is more crucial than this technology here, this technology there, competition, market size, whatever. People first. Find partners.
What is the thing that you look for?
Years ago, I would tell you that I would always used to ask when I came to lectures in universities and stuff like that, is IQ important? And the answer usually was no. And my reply was, guys, you're totally wrong. We don't invest in stupid people. But IQ, they're right, because IQ is important. It's not the most important. EQ is very, very important. You have to really have these capabilities to attract partners, employees, investors. You have to, how do you attract? Not by the fact that you show how smart you are, because you don't become partner or friend of somebody because you're smarter than him. So it's a lot relates to how do you feel people. How do you really care about people? And don't fake, because if you fake, they find it. They will find it. But then comes something else which is very crucial, and this is AQ, which stands for adversity quotient. And I translated this word to, the A stands for aminut. In Hebrew, it's resilience. Resilience is very, very important. Especially when you deal with deep tech, where everything is long term, and you go through all kinds of difficulties, and it's a long way. It's not a short way like in a startup that are doing apps or marketplaces. It's all these issues that you go with a full belief that you are the only one who is, and then you find that there are 4 like similar that developed it, and then customers who are very nice to you and make you fly to the States. And then they say, actually, no, we decided to stay with what we have. And investors, which is much difficult to find investors in the VC community for deep tech, because investors love give me investment where I invest, and after 2-3 years, I'm selling. Right, give me things like that. That's great, that's fun. By the way, it wasn't easy for us to go and raise Grow One, because people say, hey, deep tech, what's deep tech, first of all? And second, when are you going to return the money? No, we look for fast returns, and we are not fast return, and we're not the guys who are doing fast returns. We learned, by the way, how to do it faster than what we knew in
Previously.
Dov 1, but still. Just to answer your question, we say people first, creating value. These are the two principles of the fund. And we try to be very, very determined in this concept in what relates to entrepreneurs, what relates to treating the people in the fund, what relates to our LPs, people first. It does imply to many, many things. If it's in entrepreneurs, that's again one of the lessons we did. At Go One, we looked a lot at the technology. And it has to be entrepreneurs that, are okay. Nowadays, I think that we are looking first of all of the people. Then comes the technology. Then comes the market. Clearly, we need to have all of them. But the first thing that we will actually would be the most important parameter in the decision would be the people.
Do you think it's because it has to do a little bit with this revolution that everything is commoditized? Then people cannot be commoditized in a way, and then you have to kind of invest in them rather than a specific technology?
It's unrelated to the AI and stuff like that, but maybe in a way AI makes it more required for one thing. In the past, technology, hardware development, software development, whatever, was a big hurdle. Today, it is still a hurdle. It's not that AI develops everything for you just because you say, make me a system that makes a lot of money. But still, it helps a lot. Hurdles that would require a lot of people, a lot of effort in the past today are the level of the height of the hurdle will be smaller. So people are more important. And this is despite the fact that we are going to a world which is very, very technology based and everything is technology and AI is taking decisions and no. Finally, these are the people. The level of relations they are building, level of understanding, their ability to look at the eyes of the other side.
Wow, that's amazing, because one of the main themes that came out from all the interviews I had from neuroscientists, from writers, script writers, filmmakers, everyone said more or less that one of the qualities that that AI cannot replace, and that goes also for AI researchers, was like the empathy. And I was just going to ask you, do you feel that you even more need to use your empathy or even empathize with the entrepreneur? Usually VCs, like, they don't want to. They think it's like it's going to fail their decision. But actually, from what I hear from you, do you feel like it actually helps you to understand their perspective and what are they going to do if and when? And do you use that?
So today, using AI, clearly evaluating companies is much easier because first, finding a competition, you tell AI, it'll find you the competition, tell you what's the differences, level of checking the market size, which is crucial. Of course, we don't invest in companies that the potential market size is very small. What used to be work of a week of an analyst is done today by 2 minutes of one of the AI engines. So this is the easier part, that AI actually changed our life. The toughest issue, you still need to understand the people. You still need to see who has this resilience, who will succeed to pass this terrible race with full of hurdles and disappointments. You take smart people, you put them in front of VCs, normal VCs, not in front of us, and they can work a lot of preparing presentation, and they get bad treatment. This is one of the things I said never will happen to me, giving them bad treatment. And I hope that I comply with that. It's not easy, by the way, sometimes. Hey, these are smart guys that some of them are PhDs, some of them are studied in Technion, some of them did 6 years of service of 81 or one of these lucrative units. And here they come and they are judged by stupid VCs. I'm one of them, so I can say stupid VCs. They believe that they know everything, they know nothing, most of them, which, they can say yes or no. What do you think is the experience? You get out of the door, you are like that, you get out like that. So we have to identify who can do it or who cannot do it, because, hey, part of the race of building a successful company goes through many of those very tough events where you are getting hit by your head by hammer. How do you say hedge hammer? No,
A hammer.
the one who makes you smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And you have to come with a lot of self-confidence. You have to come with belief. By the way, I have a band. We are playing music. And I talk between one song and the others about entrepreneurship. And I say our first song usually is I'm a Believer. Because the idea is you establish a startup. You have to, first of all, believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, forget about it. You have to believe in your idea. You have to believe in your partners. You have to believe in the product. You have to believe really in a crazy belief that you can actually make out of it a large company despite all the difficulties. So that's our first song. That begins the whole performance. You know the song.
And then I saw her face.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm a believer. I love the song. I would like to see the concert. Can I get
Congress.
tickets?
You can come free. I play congas, by the way. It's not not the middle of not the heart, the bones and the spine of the. But I enjoy very much. Yeah, 6 years we are playing together. Over
It's
6
very
years.
important, by the way, to cultivate this
I love
creativity we
music.
talked about.
I'm crazy about music. Yeah.
It's amazing. I think that one of the things I totally understand that, because you said it so many times and it's so important that you invest in people rather than ideas. But are there methods for you to identify also like when a person has an original thinking? I'm not talking about the idea itself, but just like, oh, this person, I like his thinking rather than he or she's.
There were situations in our fund that we invested purely in the people that came to us without ideas. And I can mention one that is very successful called Inventor, that the guys left 8,200. Smart, very smart guys, very good guys. And we said, hey, they deserve to get investment. They take a seat. We give them a place. They sit inside. And I think that after something like 6 months, maybe a bit more, they came up with the right idea. And they are doing amazingly. And I hope very much they will go public or will be acquired for a very high amount. So yeah, sometimes we do look at people and say, that's a person.
Like
Doesn't happen every week, yeah, or month, or even not every year, but happens.
It's interesting. Actually, I think that now, I mean, everyone's talking about it now that AI is here and everyone's trying to create the next kind of deep tech investment in the infrastructure of AI or something related to AI and as you mentioned, to be in the race.
I tell you a funny story. When we came out with Go1 and people asked us, what do you do? What do you say? Deep tech. But why establish the fund? Because there was no real fund in Israel, VC fund in Israel, that was ready to invest in deep tech. And I thought, and I can show it actually, that the most beneficial investments in Israel are deep tech. Look at NVIDIA, what used to be Mellanox, yeah. Look at Mobileye. Even Checkpoint, which is software, but it's a software which was a very unique software at the time and breakthrough. Wasn't hey, application, M systems. I can mention many names here. Compared the level of values and success existing in deep tech to how much money in the past was invested in deep tech, there is no proportion. And still, you would see almost zero VCs investing in deep tech. So we say deep tech. And I do remember that when we established the fund, many other VCs, by the way, we like the other VCs, we invest with them, really are very connected to all the community, invested almost in every good VC fund in Israel. If there is somebody that says, hey, we didn't invest, not because you're not good guys, it's just because we still didn't invest with you. We invest with Andreessen Horowitz, we invest in Khosla, with Lux, with the big funds in America as well. But the story is that they came to us and say, hey, what's deep tech? I said, deep tech, semiconductors, cloud infrastructure, space, quantum. How about cyber? I said, no, we don't invest in cyber. I said, why don't you? Shocking. Why don't you? I remember somebody which is very known at the VC community saying, every Israeli VC has to invest in cyber. No, there are very good 3, 4, 5 funds that are very good in investing in cyber. There is no way I can compete against them and provide the same provide benefits or performance as good as they. On the other side, when it's deep tech, hey, three out of the 4 partners, or 5 partners actually, who are, the fifth one just joined as a partner, is our CFO, are electrical engineers. You know, a second degree, lot of years of development, really deep understanding of the market, many stories about understanding. I know both the design and the manufacturing. By the way, not too many like me in the world, not talking just about this. In Israel, there is no one that it's these things. And they don't have this kind of capability. Funny story is deep tech became something big now. And by the way, the Israel Innovation Authority, they did the same calculation I've done of how much money deep tech brought and how much money, little money was invested in that. They came to promote actually deep tech investments. And then you see every second fund in Israel say, we are investing in fintech, cyber, apps, and deep tech. You know, because, hey, it's a good name. Yeah. Do they really understand and capable of investing? Yeah, some of them less, some of them more, you know.
We were just talking about it earlier. I was in China trying to sell startup technologies to the Chinese, one of the greatest nations with great technologies. You can't really sell anything to them that is not deep. Really.
That's what they are looking for. That's the real. We usually sell to America. We sell software companies, but they were not in. Depends. Wiz is an amazing company, sold in amazing number, but that's a story, unique story by itself.
Yeah. But usually, and this is what really brings innovation at the end of the day. I mean, we want to promote the world. And I wanted to ask you, I think it's kind of clear you don't, but even as a thinking, direction, do you think now, because of all this race, you will try to maybe invest in something that is completely unrelated to AI or the infrastructures of AI, or nothing to do with it, just not to compete with the race?
So first of all, we do invest in mostly in AI-driven things, whether these are chips or core AI algorithms, could be memory, peripherals, but we do have investment which are not so much related to AI. I'll give you one example. We invested in a company called Enzymit. Clearly, they're using AI. I mean, it's tough to find somebody who is not using AI. What they do, they use AI in order to generate enzymes that would be able to convert material X into material Y. In a regular, without AI, it's a process of many years, and it's sometimes successful, and sometimes it's not. Using AI and understanding what existed in the history, so what works and what doesn't work, which AI is, that's a core of knowledge. Yeah. It's required by AI. They actually succeed to find ways to create new materials or materials existing that are manufactured with very high cost and actually get to manufacturing those materials in a very low cost process. So, yeah, this is using AI.
Actually, that's a good example, the enzyme thing. I mean, the new alchemists, right, of the world.
That's right, yeah.
Just using AI, of course, it would be not smart to not use. If you were like 30 years old, once again, living now, just 30, just starting your entrepreneurship path. And
hey, I'm starting my entrepreneur. I just established a crazy company called Modu chip. Well, Modu, Modu.
Yeah.
It's actually coming from modular chip. Practically, take the concept of what is called SoC, system on chip, which is trying to condense everything into one chip and do 180 degrees. By the way, one of the things which I learned, sometimes look at what happens. Everybody tries something, do 180 degrees. At Modu, for example, everybody was talking about the need to make the smaller phone, the smaller the chip.
And then they grew bigger.
Came Apple and said, I don't care. I'll make this because this is good, large, costly, but really very good. And they won. You have to do 180 degrees opposite of what the rest are doing. Go against the stream. Don't be afraid. Don't go with the stream because everybody is swimming there. It's very condensed. It's tough to swim when you can do that only because everybody is. But if you go the other way, so everybody does a system on chip. We take the concept. We actually break the chips into small sub-components called chiplets. And the chiplets are very, very small component that each one of them is usually single function. And you can actually connect them and out of them create your own chip. And the meaning is that you don't have to design a chip. You can actually decide which kind of CPU you want, how many cores, how much memory you want. There's a part called the FPGA. So you can put all your logic that is unique into this.
That's amazing.
It's a small part. You want encryption. There is a chiplet for encryption. You want communication. So you actually build your own chip. Now it's not enough. It's a great technology. There is one thing which I must if I can teach you one thing, don't get in love with technology. So that's great technology, which by itself is very difficult to execute. No one did it before. It's doable. But our question, who is going to buy it? What are the purposes? So we have actually two markets, which each one of them is huge. Tough to decide which one we will go after. That's a company I established.
That's amazing.
And
it's like the Lego of chips.
Lego of chips. I established. It's my idea. And we filed patents for that. I found a great CEO, amazing CEO. I go to California, I talk with guys that could be the strategic partners for that. It's part of the fund. It's not me, it's my idea, but it's not, I'm working for the fund. So it belongs to the fund, not to me. The fund actually, we allocated 50% of the shares to the employees ahead of time, but we own 50% of the company. And we are talking about having a very large, I don't know how to call it, pre-seed, pre-seed probably is what we invested, right? Seed, there are no definitions here at levels that are very, very unique in the industry.
And what kind of markets do you suspect are going to use it first?
We look at two markets which are very different in a way. One is the physical AI, which is robotics and stuff like that. And the other one is, which is the biggest and most interesting market today by far, it's the market of data centers. Clearly, there are a lot what to be done in these markets because it's a world who is just changing so fast that there is so much place for new ideas, new inventions. That's what we want to be involved in. So I didn't drop my entrepreneurial spirit. When I work with companies,
I wasn't expecting that.
When I work with companies, I try to initiate ideas and directions. I'm not a purely financial investor. I don't see myself as say like that. So if I would be 30 years, I would say, hey, that's a great world. I would say maybe I should focus on learn something like make a PhD. By the way, the guy who established inside it, he was a PhD at Weizmann, a company called Majestic that we invested in. Not surprisingly, the guy who established the company made his PhD and postdoc in computer architecture. He did it in Stanford, so he knows what's going on. He knows all the guys. He was number 2 at the semiconductors of Google, then he became the number 1 in semiconductors in Meta. He brings with him a lot of knowledge. So people say, hey, we don't need to learn anymore. No, that's totally wrong. Yeah, you don't have to learn programming. Become a low-level programmer. It's a waste of time.
You need to learn pure science, basically.
Science. That's science is back. That's one of the messages that we have. Deep tech is now the leading or interesting stuff in high tech, and science is part of it.
And now for the last part that I ask everyone who comes here, just a personal note of, do you recall a specific time, maybe not the time that the famous story about the USB flash drive, but just another time in your life where you felt like your creative thinking or your way of thinking just saved you from a situation or rescued you?
Maybe one experience that I had, which is a very, very small story, but still, this was the few months after beginning to sell USB flash drives, and I went to a flight. I was flying coach, of course, and someone came to me and he said, "You're Dov Moran?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I have to thank you." I said, "Okay." "For what?" He said, "You actually saved my marriage life." I said, "Why?" He said, he was working in a place, and I tend to believe it was one of these agencies that, I said, like, I work with computers, but every day my wife demanded I'll come home and I'll help her to get the kids to sleep. So I had to stop my work. And then the morning after I came, but this allowed me to actually, before I go home, plug USB into my computer, copy the stuff that I needed to work at home, put it on my pocket so no one knows, go home, work, do whatever I did with my family, and then get out, plug it to my computer, continue to work. The next morning, hey, everybody was happy. How did I make such a progress? You understand? One said it's beautiful, and the other said, hey, actually, I allowed him to.
That's a bridge, right?
That's right, yeah.
That's I know, but it's a personal, nice story.
But I do with many people that talk with me about how I changed my life, their life, and some of them, of course, are like, most of them are exaggerating. But I do feel this feeling that, hey, I touched many people in my life. I employed tens of thousands of employees in all my companies and activities, and I'm still trying to make this world a bit better, not just by the business side, but by a lot of philanthropical job, under the radar activities, which is political in a way. I'm sitting at a board member. I'm a board member at ORT Worldwide, which is a huge chain of schools in all over the world. And I established something called the Kibbutz High Tech that tries to take the peripherals and move it, take the high tech and move it to the peripherals. And I'm the chairman of this venue of the Israeli Science Museum in Jerusalem, which is a lot to be done there, and a big challenge. And I'm writing books, which here are two of them for you.
Wow,
so one is something which I can't translate to English. So there's no translation to English because of the name. The name is Yahadut, which is like it's Yahadut, which is Judaism in Hebrew, but I changed one letter. And that's a new name in Hebrew called, which means targetism, if I can translate it. And the second book, this is a month ago, I wrote a book for kids. I wrote it, Yoram Yovel wrote the introduction, and Adar helped me in setting it up, and all the rest. And the book is called Saba Lama. It's a grandpa that, in English, it will be called Grandpa Why. It's a grandpa that expects his grandchildren that whenever they come, they ask him why questions. So here we talk about animals.
It's amazing. Will you come to my daughter's school? So important. Thank you so much.
I hope it can become a series of books, all with Saba Lama, Grandpa Why, and Saftama, which is Grandma
What?
And the kids, and this tries to educate children to be, or it's not children, it tries to educate the parents to try to make the children more curious. Because we didn't talk about that. Part of being an entrepreneur is you have to be very curious. You have to try to understand, to learn, to go into the core, to see what's behind. If you don't have this interest, you will not be a good entrepreneur.
It's so true. We discussed it so many times, like the curiosity of the kids and yourself as an adult, right?
Yeah.
Never stop being curious. Thank you so much, Dov. It was very fascinating.
Thank you.